talking about the plant life cycle. And today we're going to continue in our books, our last lesson for our unit. And we're going to be finishing up the life cycle. Oh, yeah. Do you have a science book? You don't have a science book.
I made two. There should be another set on my desk.
Right here. Okay. So can anyone tell me what's the very first start of the plant's life cycle? What starts out the life cycle? What's our very first step? It's one of our vocab words that we talked about. What do we put in our bean plants over there on the window? What do we put in the soil? What's the very first start of the life cycle? Mason?
Water?
Not water. Remember we put something in the soil? What is it? We put something in the soil. Griffin, do you know? A seed. Okay, so what does the seed turn into? What does the seed turn into? What happens next? What happens next? Samaya?
The seed goes like down on the root goes down but the seed goes up.
Okay, so the roots, they grow down, right? The seed germinates. That's one of our vocabulary words too. So then now we have roots. What comes after the roots? What's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? You guys are asleep. What's going to happen next? I have roots. Then what? Natalie? Well, before the flower, what does the plant turn into? Wait, Lorenzo, I heard you say it. What is it, Lorenzo? A seedling. And then what comes after a seedling? What's the next step? What comes after a seedling? Talia?
A flower?
Well, a flower or a, can you say like, what kind of plant? An adult plant. Okay, so a seedling turns into an adult plant. And then the flower grows what? What does the flower do? To make more plants, what does the flower do? Santana? It grows what? What does the flower grow to make more plants?
Flower.
A flower does, okay, so we have a flower, right? Remember a sunflower? What's in the middle? That grows more? A seed, exactly. So look at that. That was one big circle. We went in one big cycle. So we're going to watch this video, and it's a time lapse. So our bean plants over 25 days. So this is what our bean plants that are over in our window look like from a view on the ground and above the ground.
Can I go see one?
What?
I want to see one.
We'll look at them tomorrow. Okay, so everyone just pay attention. To our video. So here's our first day. What are our seeds doing? What is that? What is that? It's our vocabulary word. It starts with a G.
Germinated.
What is it?
Germinated.
Germination, right.
That's a root.
It's growing roots.
That's a long seed. That's cool to watch.
Those are bean plants. That's exactly what our plants over in the window look like. It looks like it's dancing, but it's growing. So what do we call that whenever it's at day 11? What is that, Lorenzo? A seedling.
Oh, it's growing. It's growing like a flower. Oh, it's 16. That's what it also looks like. Oh, there's 16. Ours are day 17.
Hey guys, just watch.
Huge. Oh my god.
we're getting towards the end. So what's our final step? What is our plant? What is it, Evelyn? It's an adult plant. Close to day 25. And then these are the roots. So as the plant grows above the soil, it's growing below too. The roots are growing as well. This is showing how the roots are growing farther and farther into the soil. Look at that.
How far is it going up? Oh my god. It's still going. It's still going. Oh my god. It's still going. Oh wow.
So that's what our plants that are over in the windowsill, that's what they're going to look like whenever they're a full, mature, adult plant. Well, it's a green bean plant. So if it's a green bean plant, what do we think is going to happen? Raise your hand and tell me, what do we think is going to happen? Instead of it growing flowers, what's it going to grow? What's it going to grow, Santana?
Beans.
Beans, exactly. And if you looked at our, well, it's gone now, but before, if you look in your book, there's a bean plant on page 162, and you can kind of see sprouting off of the stem. What do those look like on the mature adult plant on page 163? What's sprouting off of that, Emmeline? Green beans. So that's what's going to happen to our plants that are over in the window. So let's look it down at page 162, where it says start with the seed. Can I have someone read for me? Who wants to read for me? Natalie, go ahead.
What happens when AC gets
Warm? Very good, thank you. And can anyone tell me what does germinate mean? Just a reminder. What does germinate mean, Lorenzo? Starts to grow, right? Okay. So let's look down here at our bottom. Our question says, which part plants grow from the seed first? What part of the plant grows from the seed first? I need someone to come here and write it for me. What part of the plant grows first? Not the flower, right? Because the flower is the very last part. So what's our very first step that comes? What sprouts out from our seeds? I know you guys know it. Scott, do you know what it is? What is it? What grows out from our seed? If you look right here. What is that? Roots. Can you go write it up on the board for me? Okay, so Scott said it's roots. So we're going to go ahead and write the word roots right here on the line. Follow along with him. Very good. Thank you, Scott. Okay, so you should have roots right on your paper. And we're going to move on to page 163. All right, so who can read up at the top where it says growing up? Nice and loud. Who can be super loud? Mason, can you be really loud for everyone?
The tiny plant inside the seed has become a young plant called a seedling.
Seedling.
And seedlings grow into an adult plant. And adult plants can make flowers and seeds.
Very good. So remind me again, what is a seedling? Who can tell me what is a seedling? What is a seedling? Who better? Brooklyn, what's a seedling? It's a young plant, right? Exactly. Okay, so our active reading says, find the words that tell the meaning of a seedling. Draw a line under those words. Okay, so let's look back at our paragraph. So we have, it says a seedling right here. What words describe a seedling? Who can come up here and underline them for me? Who can come up and underline the words that describe a seedling? Lorenzo? What word? Okay, so Lorenzo's, we're underlining a young plant. So what we just said, a seedling is a young plant. So go ahead and underline those two words in that sentence right before your vocabulary. Whenever you're finished with that, go ahead and put your pencils down so I know you're done. And we're going to move on to page 164. So flip one over. You should be looking at it. It says apples all around. And who can read for me on that page, on page 164? Romeo?
Some plants have flowers that make seeds and fruit. Parts of the flower grow into fruit. The fruit grows around the seeds to mold and protect them.
Very nice. And then who can read for me the sentence inside the apple? That's inside the apple. Asia, can you read that for me nice and loud?
Parts of apple blossom grows into apples and apples grow large.
Very nice. Okay, so did you know that, have you ever eaten an apple? Raise your hand if you ever eaten an apple before. Everyone in here, because I know you guys get them at breakfast all the time. So, have you ever eaten an apple and seen in the very middle, the core, there's seeds? Did you know those are seeds to plant an apple tree?
Yes.
And did you know that the apple is what the tree makes to protect its seeds? So remember that, because you're going to need that whenever we keep going on in our lesson. All right, so who can do this active reading? Who wants to come up to the board and circle the word seed on this paper? Wherever you see the word seed on just this paper. Who can come up for me? Griffin, can you come up and circle the word seeds? Let's see. Okay, so you found one, and I we're going to find another one. Is there any more? All right, so Griffin found 3 seeds. Go ahead and circle those 3 seeds. Natalie, where do you see one more? Come up and show me. Where did you see seeds? Right there, go ahead and circle it. Okay, Natalie found one in our active reading, right? Okay, so let's circle that one too. So you should have these circled. I know. We were just doing it on this page, and then we'll move on to this one. Do you want to read where it says a long life for me? Okay. So Griffin's going to read on page 165. It says a long life. So nice and loud, Griffin. Can you go ahead and start us off?
Some
Plants
plants have short lives. They die soon after their flowers make seeds. Other plants, such as apple trees, can live for many years. An apple tree can live for 100 years or more.
So apple trees can live for over 100 years. Isn't that crazy? Think about how many apples they can make in 100 years. You could feed a lot of people with all those apples. Natalie?
Do you have to be 100?
Do you think thousands? I think so. You would have to be 100 years old. You're right. Emmeline?
I think they could plant millions of.
You think millions of apples?
Oh no.
Wow.
I think there are more than the biggest number because there's so much tree.
Because there's so many. So just one tree. You're right though, because there's apple farms that have a bunch of trees that grow a bunch of apples, and those trees could be hundreds of years old. All right, so let's look at the bottom where it says, what do apple blossoms make? So remember we talked about on the last page how an apple, it protects something. So what do apple blossoms? An apple blossom is the tree. The tree blossoms a flower that then turns into what? Can anyone tell me, what does an apple blossom turn into? We talked about them on our last page. It's on your paper. What does an apple blossom turn into?
A
You're on the wrong page. We're here. What does an apple blossom turn into? Mason?
Apple?
Apple. And what's inside the apple?
Seeds.
Seeds. Can you go write that on the line for me up on the board? So Mason said that apple blossom turns into apples and seeds. So go ahead and write up on the line. You can write apples and seeds. So we're going to write apples and seeds. Go ahead and do that with Mason up on the while he's writing it on the board. Emmeline?
I wrote apple seeds.
You wrote apple seeds? That could work too. You're right. When you're finished with that, go ahead and put that your pencil up at the corner of your desk so I know you're finished and we can move on. Apple seed, very nice. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Lorenzo, do you have that written down?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have that, Santana? You do? Okay. Here, you may sit. Right, put your feet on the floor. Thank you. Okay, turn your page to 166. Right on the back. It says inside a cone. What do we think these cones are doing right here? Why are some of them closed and some of them open? Let's brainstorm a little bit. Why are these pine cones closed? Why are these ones open? Why might they be like that? Romeo?
Maybe because some are growing.
You think because they're growing? Which ones do you think are growing? The closed or the open pine cones?
Closed.
And why do you think it's the closed that are growing? You don't know? Are you sure? Do you want to help? Do you want to have someone help you on why you might think that?
Also ask a question.
Okay.
Also ask how does pine cones grow their seeds inside them?
Well, think about how an apple tree, how we just read about an apple tree grows apple blossoms that turn into apples, right? And inside the apple is the seeds. The apple protects the seeds, right? So the pine tree makes pine cones, and there's seeds inside the pine cones. And the pine cone is protecting the seeds. It's helping them form.
How does it almost fall out of the year?
Well, we'll read about that. That's why I'm asking you. Because which ones do you think have the grown seeds? Or which one do you think has the, okay, so here's the closed seeds, right? Do you think that those are grown seeds? You think those are the grown ones? And you think this is the seeds that are growing? Okay. Natalie, what do you think?
I'm a question.
Okay, what's your question? Oh, okay. Oh, okay, so you think they're growing in there because the pine cones are open? So you think the seeds that are still growing in there? Oh, you think they're not growing in there? They're going to fall out? No? You don't know? Okay, well, we'll read more about it. Emmeline?
How do plants grow underwater?
Well, because they're native to, you know what native means? That means that they grow there naturally. Oh, sorry. So, plants that grow underwater naturally, they can get their nutrients from the water and from the sand that's in the water. So like how some plants get their nutrients from soil, some other plants will get their nutrients from their surroundings.
But I thought that they could drown.
Well, they wouldn't drown as long as they're getting their basic needs met, right? As long as the plant is getting their basic needs met, they'll grow. Doesn't matter where it's at. Okay, so who can read for me where it says inside a cone? Inside a cone. Annabelle?
Inside a cone. So plants like pine trees do not have flowers, but they do have seeds. Where do they grow?
Where do their seeds?
Where do their seeds grow? A cone is a part of a pine tree, and some other plants' seeds grow inside the cone.
Okay, so the pine cone is what the pine tree forms. And the seeds, the pine seeds, grow inside of the pine cone. So who can read this last part for me? Samaya?
The cone protects the
our question. So our closed pine cones are whenever the seeds are still forming. Our open pine cones, they open up their leaves, they're kind of like leaves. They open them up and all the seeds fall out that then turn into more pine trees. So our question says, where do pine seeds form? Where do pine seeds form? I just said it. Where do they form? Inside what? Where do the seeds form? Inside what? Annabelle?
Pine cones.
Pine cones. Very nice. So you're going to write pine cones right here on the line. I'm going to write it for you. All right. Now we're going to look over the next page on page 167, where it says pine tree beginnings. Who can read for me where it says pine tree beginnings? Stand kind of nice and loud for me so everyone can hear you.
Pine seeds fall off to the ground and germinate. As the seedling grows, they start to look like their parent plant. After a few years, the pine tree will grow and make seeds. The life cycle begins again.
All right. So let's look down here at our question, and it says, what happens after an adult pine tree grows cones and makes seeds? We talked about at the beginning of our lesson. Our whole lesson is about this. What are we talking about? We're talking about the plant what? Plant life. No, say, don't raise your hand. Plant life what? Brooklyn, do you know? Plant life. No, our whole lesson. Our whole lesson is about the plant. Remember, we talked about the seed and a seedling, a young plant, a mature plant, and then back to a seed. That's called the plant life. The plant life cycle, exactly. So we're going to write down here on the bottom, we're going to write this sentence right here. So we're talking about the plant life cycle. So you're going to write the life cycle begins again. And if you need help, that's our sentence right here, our very last sentence in our paragraph. It's going to go right here. The life cycle begins again. You guys got it, Talia?
Got it right.
Writing that sentence down here. Good job. Okay, so whenever you have that sentence written, you can go ahead and close your science books. You can put those away. We're going to do an activity.
I'm reading this sentence.
Just that last sentence that's in your, yeah, go ahead. And then you can close up your science book. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to pass out this plant life cycle crossword. Okay? So what you're going to do is put your name up at the top, whenever you get your paper. And you're going to use, out of our 4 vocabulary words, you're going to read where it says across. It says a young plant. For number 3 across, a young plant. Which one of our words is going to go in the boxes? Remember, each letter goes in their own box. And then you're going to do the next 3 on your own. Remember to put your name up at the top. And get started, Romeo. As soon as you get your paper, get started. a young plant. So look for your box that says number 3. You're going to find your number 3. Which one of our words is a young plant? Is it germinate, seed, or seedling, or cone?
Young plant. Which word is it? From the board.
Did you finish it all?
Okay, this one. It's gonna go here. One across.
So whenever you're finished, make sure your name's up at the top and raise your hand and I'll be around again. Are you done,
Nice,
Scott?
nice and good.
Okay.
Okay, the
Go
other
ahead and get
ones
your
are
stuff together
down.
once I
So
collect
we're
your
gonna go
paper.
down now. Okay. So this is one down. Going down.
Tomorrow we're going to review our plant life cycle. And then we're going to have a test next week. So we're just going to do a couple, we're going to do some study guides and some other things. And then we'll look at our plants too. You finished? Okay, get your stuff together.